lot's happened, since the last podcast we did. When it,
oh yeah, mm-hmm.
especially in gaming. All like the Helldivers 2 stuff. Now there's like multiple closures with Microsoft as well. All the Sony stuff that comes with the Helldivers stuff. And it's just like, jeepers creepers. What the hell happened?
We don't need to get into this right away, and obviously we should do. Well, let's do the intro first.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to another episode of It Never Ends. I am Andrew, and over there is my good buddy Alex. How you doing today?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good.
Nice.
I'm glad that God isn't interrupting my podcast today.
Well, you put the camera away from him, so it's like you're tired of showing him on the podcast. That's really what it was.
Okay, let's phrase it like that.
Exactly. Anyways, so it's like we take off one week, and it seems like we always pick the most busiest weeks to take off, or whatever. I don't know what it is.
I mean, to be fair, that gives us a lot of stuff to talk about.
It does, and also I like to always do like these kind of like controversies like this, like when we've seen like the back end of it as well, like the result of it as well. Like I don't know, like the Helldiver stuff. It's like, dude, it's crazy how much that went from like a beloved game to just like fuck you, Sony, fuck you for what you did did to this. And it's like so many people just did not have access to playing the game because of all the PSN stuff. I guess I should go over it just in case you're unaware of what happened here.
Yeah. But
it's basically just like at some point Helldivers 2 required a PSN login if you wanted to play the game. You wouldn't think that that's that bad, but then you realize that there's more people that game that are in countries that don't have access to the PSN servers or can make even PSN accounts.
For a while, there was like over 100 countries where you just couldn't buy the game like outright.
Yeah, then it got delisted. Yeah,
there are so many people that I saw online just being like, "Yeah, I've been playing Helldivers 2 for weeks now, and now I just can't get in anymore because I can't create a PSN account."
Yeah, and that's 100% on Sony's fault. Like, just 100%. There's no denying that. I was like, a lot of people wanted to blame like the developers or anything like that, but it's like they had no say on that. It's like this is 100% Sony.
Especially if you were in the community Discord, all the developers were like, "Let Sony know that you're upset. We didn't want to do this either."
Yeah, show them that you're pissed.
One of the developers actually encouraged people to spam negative reviews of the game to kind of force Sony into a position to do that.
Yeah.
He was fired, by the way.
He was, and probably rightfully so.
Fair enough, but at the exact same time...
Can you blame him?
Good on him for looking out for the community, at least.
Yeah, it's like...
I can't blame the guy for what he did, and I also can't blame Sony for wanting to out him after that.
But I can't fathom a community person, a person that is supposed to be like promote like good community involvement and everything like that, and then just go, "Oh yeah, fucking review bomb this game," so that way Sony knows how much much they fucked up. I'm like, it's probably not the best way to do it. You could probably say it's like, hey, maybe you could just email like Sony support or something like that and show them your displeasure for it or whatever, that type of thing. Don't just say, "Hey, you fucking review bomb this shit to death," and they go, it's not
how it should work.
Yeah. Trust me, I also don't think they needed a community person saying that, considering that it seemed like the whole of the internet was already on board with review bombing the game. It is amazing to me how within like 24 hours that game went from like overwhelmingly positive to mostly negative, and it's just like, whoa.
That's the Helldivers community, man. They'll get together on anything.
It really is. And it's like, all this shows to me as well is just like, dude, if changes like this happen in like games like who already have like a dedicated fan base, if you ever wanted to show a company how much you were pissed off about a change, that's how you do it. It's like, yeah, it sucks that review bombing a game or whatever, but it does show displeasure towards the recent changes.
It absolutely does, yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't know. To which I guess they have taken it off. Thank God for that, because they absolutely should. But it's like, man, that was some wild shit for like, I don't know, what was that, like a week or something like that was going on?
Oh, a week, maybe like a couple days. I don't think it lasted very long.
Yeah, it definitely did not last very long.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, now I read here, it's like, oh, Ghost of Tsushima might be following the same things with its multiplayer, where it's going to require a PSN login, which this, of course, happened in the midst of the Helldivers stuff. So they could have very well changed their mind on this.
It's possible. At the exact same time, I think there's a notable difference between, Helldivers, which is a, primarily a multiplayer-focused game, if not solely that.
Yes.
And Ghost of Tsushima, that I didn't even realize had a multiplayer mode.
Yeah.
Until that article came out.
Yeah, I'm the same way with you. It's like, this in theory, this is just a single-player game, but I guess it does have, multiplayer on it. And there will be people that want to play the multiplayer, so.
Yeah.
But it is something to concern. But it's like, that just tells me that Sony thought this was a good idea, even for like first party games or whatever, that it's porting over to PC. And I'm just like, could you not? Could we not? Could you not do that? Because I'm sure people would like to play the game that, have or whatever. It's like, the thing is, like, we talk about this as being on just like the multiplayer, front end or whatever. And it's just like, but what's going to stop Sony if this continues? To just say, oh, you also need a PSN to play the single player of, like, I don't know, Marvel Spider-Man 2 when it comes out on PC.
Absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
Like, people complain. I feel like this is going to become the standard later. At the exact same time, like, I do think, like, PlayStation is looking to open PSN in more countries. This is one of the things they should have taken away from this whole controversy, too. Is that, like, it becomes hard to play your games if people can't buy them.
Yeah, if people can't have access to the PlayStation Network, it's just like, they can't buy the game. They can't play it.
You'd think these things are self-explanatory.
You really would, but then and it's just like, it's just wild. It's just wild. Like, I can't... Like, I get the idea of adding a PSN onto like a game like Helldivers 2, but at the same time, it's just like, clearly the person or clearly the idea behind it didn't look at all like the things around that. It's just like, oh, clearly the PSN is available everywhere, and then probably some legal person came in and is like, actually, no, it's not available in these like 100 countries, and then the person went, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, that'll be fine. I mean, no one plays video games in those 100 countries anyway. It turns out a lot of people do.
Enough people do to create the outrage that happened ultimately, yeah.
It turns out that there's more people than just in North America that play video games.
I think there was also a thing where I think in the UK you need to submit like a photo ID to PlayStation in order to create a PSN account. It's like, I would not be creating a PSN account if I was in the UK, because holy cow, is that sketch. That is all sorts of not good.
Yeah, that's why it's just like, it's like, maybe you should really think these things through before you just put them into practice. That'd be a good food for thoughts. That way, one of the most loved games in recent times with Helldivers 2 doesn't have this big controversy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of companies that clearly didn't think things through before doing something completely irrational, let's talk about what Xbox has been up to.
Woo! What fucking shit has Microsoft been up to? Oh yeah, that's right.
I want to say this, before we even get like deep into it. If you've been watching like this podcast for long enough, and especially if you watch our last podcast, I've always liked to stick up for the Xbox brand. I have always, held out hope that things were going to get better, that things were going to improve. I want to say right here, right now, as someone that's been with this company since through the Xbox One days and since the Xbox 360 days, I have absolutely zero faith that they are going to make a comeback or that they're ever going to recover from what they are doing right now. I think Xbox as a brand is dying, and you have absolutely no reason to invest in it. If there are a few games on Game Pass you want, buy those games and don't subscribe.
Whoa. That shook me of that stance that you had. I'm like, holy shit.
I'm being completely serious here. Completely going. We will talk about the studio closures, but if you really read into like the different decisions that Microsoft is going to be making moving forward, right now I'm scared to stop my Xbox Game Pass subscription. I literally thought about it, and right now I feel like before I was subscribing to Game Pass to support my favorite studios in whenever endeavors they wanted to. Now I feel like Microsoft is taking them hostage. It's a fucking scary thing that's going on right now. You want to talk about what's been going on?
I mean, you probably know more about it than I have. I haven't really been keeping up with all the stuff with Xbox, so go for it.
So a couple different studios within, I think it was like Roundhouse Studios and
I see Tango Gameworks, Arcane Austin, Alpha Dogs Games, and then Roundhouse Studios.
Roundhouse and Alpha Dog were absorbed into other, Bethesda studios as support studios.
Yep, that's
and Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks have been completely shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, Tango Gameworks not only released, the Evil Within games as like the love child of Shinji Mikami, but they also released one of Xbox's most notable games in almost a decade. They released Hi-Fi Rush last year, nominated for multiple awards, easily one of Xbox's most successful games in recent memory. Completely shut them down. They were planning on expanding the studio and creating a Hi-Fi Rush sequel, but no. And Arcane Austin, obviously they made Redfall. According to reports that I read, Microsoft gave them a year to fix it. And I guess it just didn't pan out. Which is crazy when you consider that the developers themselves told Microsoft that they should have canceled it, completely reworked it, because they knew it was going to be bad. And that they couldn't fix it because the game was built on on a flawed platform to begin with. So, any chances of us getting a sequel to either Prey or Dishonored are completely gone, and another incredibly talented studio is completely shut down. Which brings, and this isn't just including Microsoft, this is all across the industry, the amount of jobs that have been lost this year, considering, and keep in mind, we haven't even reached the halfway point of the year, is close to 10,000. 10,000 people in the games industry have lost their jobs just this year. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry,
go for it, man. Just fucking go into it. Like that's what I say. It's just like when stuff like this happens and you're in the clear something you care about, just go for it. Don't hold back.
The reason I say that the Xbox ecosystem isn't worth investing in isn't just because of these studio closures. If you listen to what Satya Nadella and other studio heads are talking about, they want to focus on bigger blockbuster games. So what does that leave for Xbox's other studios? Thankfully Toys for Bob got the fuck out of there.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Before all this shit went down. What does that mean for Double Fine? What does that mean for, Compulsion after they release Clockwork Revolution anymore? Is that game are they even going to, keep supporting the creation of that game past this point? If, Hellblade 2 comes out in a couple of weeks, couple of days, what does that do if it doesn't meet whatever Microsoft's bullshit sales goals are? Yeah.
And it's just it's one thing if there's actual attainable goals for these games, but it's just for a studio like Xbox or for Microsoft is their expectations is going to be through the roof with a lot of these games. It's considering that apparently the reports are that Hellblade 2 isn't going to be longer than 8 hours or something like that. Isn't that what I heard as well? It's going to be really short. It's no one's if I know a game is only 8 hours long, I'm sorry, I don't care really how pretty it looks or anything like that. It's It's just like it's going to be hard for me to want to pay $70 for that game.
And it doesn't help that Microsoft has contributed absolutely nothing to marketing that game.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of the games that they have coming out just this year, they have no marketing for. It is absolutely infuriating. And they came out right after all this, right after they got all of the backlash. They said, "Oh yeah, you can expect like more studio downsizing and more closures because we've spread ourselves too thin. We bought too many studios and we don't have the manpower or the finances to support all of them in the long term." Which, first of all, is bullshit.
I was like, that's some bullshit right there. I was like, one, you're Microsoft and you have like some of the most money in like ever by any studio, and also manpower. I'm like, look at, like you just said, is like, look at how many jobs are lost. Pick up some of these people.
Tens of billions of dollars. And the thing that pisses me off most about this is because the reason that I defended Xbox acquiring Activision, acquiring Bethesda, all these other studios, the reason I was supportive of that is because they themselves said that they had the money and were willing to support these studios in the long term. And when I think long term, I was thinking like at least until like 2030. Like as the game industry evolved, they were looking to stick with Game Pass in the long term. But they're making all of these cuts now that'll only support them in the short term financially. And every single one of their studios that is, operating right now, they feel like shit. They have no idea how Xbox measures their success. And basically every studio working under Microsoft right now, everyone is super low morale and none of them know whether or not they're going to have a job tomorrow. Do you think that's a good environment in which to build an award-winning, groundbreaking video game, or the kind of live services that you need and want on something like Game Pass? Oh no! To improve on this, not only do we not know if Call of Duty games are going to be Game Pass, according to Microsoft leadership, they're thinking that on top of not doing that, they might also do away with day one releases and simultaneously increase the price of the service. It's like, why invest in their ecosystem at this point? They're just going to fuck you over. And considering like their focus on short-term gains at this point, it's like I can only imagine that their plans for releasing stuff on multiple platforms, i.e. like PlayStation and Switch, those are just going to go up.
Oh, absolutely. So
yeah, just you don't need an Xbox. Go buy a PlayStation, and if there's really a game from them that you want, just buy it on there. They have to do something drastic to sell people on the Xbox ecosystem now, because their developers, their customers, nobody has any faith in their leadership or their plans moving forward. This is the lowest point that I think Xbox has ever been in, and the Xbox had the Xbox One launch.
Yeah.
All right, that's kind of the end of my rant. This is a studio that I absolutely loved, and their future is completely bleak. I do want to shout someone out, and this is going to sound super weird. I want to give a big shout out to Donkey, to studios like Remedy and studios like Capcom that are in Sega that I feel really care about the art of video games, and people that want to create games because they want to make cool stuff. Obviously, they're in it to make money too, but they're willing to stick it through in terms of like.
Well, sorry,
respecting games as art.
Sorry, but it's just like, also it's just like when I think about like the studios and everything you just listed off as well, it's just like yes, they want to make beautiful games, but they are also in for money, but they're also like not here to make billions of dollars and stuff like that. They're not like super like greedy. It's like they want to make their money back and a little bit more, and then so that way they can work on their next project, their next thing that they want to make and whatever and stuff like that. It's like dude, it's just like Hades 2 recently launched on on the Steam and everything like that, like for early
Best
access.
fucking seller. And
Best fucking seller.
it.
People absolutely adore it. It's a fantastic game, like already. And it's just like, and then you look at like Xbox wishes they had a game like this. Like the closest thing was Hi-Fi Rush. And it's just like, and it's just for the pure love of it.
Oh, you made this really awesome, unique game. It sold super well. It's getting consistently high reviews. Fuck you, your studio's gone. How does Xbox measure success anymore?
How does anyone
if that's not
measure
a success
anymore?
What is?
It's just
what
like,
are they expecting to get out of any of these studios?
It's just
sorry,
I remember seeing, and I think we talked about this not that long ago, was just that like there are multiple AAA studios, like multiple AAA like studios, companies, whatever, that are moving away from more of like the single player, like kind of just like making really neat game that looks really good, like looks really good and plays well, but great story and everything like that. Just like what we've expected from AAA games, you know, in the past and stuff like that. They're moving away from that and moving towards live service because they want to make just an absolute buttload of money, but have no idea what it means to make a live service game or how to even make it good. They just saw like Destiny 2 just run rampant for like what, a decade or something like that, and then it's just like, and they were just like, oh well, we could easily do that, and I'm like, no, you can't. It's like, it's just games like Destiny 2, or even like you look at like the MMORPG scene with like Final Fantasy 14, WoW, and everything like that. It's just like, you know how many games have come out like that and have not lived to see the light of day, or have not lived long enough to even like make its money back or anything like that? A lot. And if you think you can do it just because you have like this legendary studio that's making it, even or whatever, you're wrong. I'm sorry, you're just wrong.
Also, you need to encourage people away from those games and towards your game, because that's the audience that you're ultimately targeting. And it's like, what reason would anybody have to move from a game like Destiny 2 to like, you know, Suicide Squad?
Yeah,
there's none.
And it's like I look at like you're talking about. It's like, oh, they're closing these studios, like Microsoft's closing these studios to make high impactful games. What the hell does that even mean? Like, high impactful studios in my mind are just AAA games that actually have like a great story and whatever, and like telling wise and whatever, with like some decent multiplayer, great gameplay, stuff like that. Like basically everything that Sony's been doing in recent times. Like when you look at like Marvel Spider-Man, God of War, all those kind of things or whatever like that. Like that's what AAA games should be. It's something like that. It doesn't need to be this big overarching thing or whatever like that that's like live service and just tries to make a bunch of money. It's like, I'm not saying that live service can't exist, but when you're trying to just make a concept of a story into a live service, it's just not going to work. It's like, I look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League as a good example of that. I think that a game like that, if they could have made it like a single player game, like an Arkham game almost in a way, I think it would have been great with like an actual story and everything like that.
At least.
So what?
I think it would have been okay, at least.
I think it would have, like, and it's like, I'm not saying, and it's like, I hear that the live service actually has a good story, but imagine that was the whole game, and it was much longer, you know?
Instead of focusing on all these, like, bullshit seasonal editions and whatever the fuck. Exactly. The first season came out, and it's a complete fucking failure.
It's like, but it's just like, I don't understand why all these studios are suddenly doing this. Like it's just like, they're seeing Destiny 2 like shutting down or something, or like just like stop updating after this like last like expansion that they're doing, and then they're just gonna go like, I know, but I'm saying, but I'm
on to the next game.
I know, I'm not saying that. Oh, Destiny 2 is gonna continue. Like they're not. They said this is the last expansion, but it's like they see that Destiny 2 is shutting down, and then they're saying, oh, well now there's gonna be a lot of people like that want to get into live service games, so let's start making it now. And I go, what are you talking about? It's like we're like they're all sitting here going just like, oh yeah, we could be the next Destiny 2 or whatever, and I go, no.
The industry is completely changing, and the people whose job it is to figure out like where the industry is going are just not putting the pieces together. No. And it is embarrassing and sad to see.
Do you know, it's really funny. It's just like it's like Bungie has always been a studio, obviously, like when even like during like when he was making like its Halo days or whatever, has always been like a studio that prides itself on being like a studio that like of the game, like of all gamers basically, like they are people that love playing games and understood what they wanted from a game and everything like that. Like that's why they have done so well with like when it came to the Halo games, how well Destiny has continued for like I said 10 plus years. So it's just like. And ultimately, it comes down to is that they are gamers making games for gamers. And it feels like a lot of studios aren't like that anymore. They are studios that are making games to make a profit, not to make games that people will like or that gamers will like.
Well, it's because they're being headed by multi-billionaires and multi-millionaires who have completely unrealistic expectations for how much a game is going to make. It's like, even if a game turns like a really decent profit, they'll look at that and be like, it's still not enough.
Yeah. And I go, what do you mean? It made its money back and a lot more too, but it still was a failure as a result. And I go, what are you talking about?
I hate seeing that. I hate it so much.
I don't blame you.
And it's like, I'm sure like Satya Nadella, of whoever is making these bullshit decisions from within Microsoft, are thinking, oh yeah, we'll just like invest in, the Bethesda, they can just be like the Fallout Elder Scrolls studio. That those will make billions of dollars easily. Activision, they can just make COD, those will make billions of dollars easily. And while those are big franchises, this might come out a bit controversial. They're not like they're not like easy instant success games. I think it's relatively easy to bomb with either of those games now. It's like if Starfield proved anything, it proved like the Bethesda formula is not, completely invulnerable. It can like stop working at any time if the rest of the game isn't like legitimately good. And in terms of Call of Duty, the games industry is evolving way past it, I think. Like, you have games like Fortnite, you have games like Apex Legends and Valorant. People have options that are not Call of Duty right now, and if Activision keeps shitting the bed with a franchise, yeah, I don't see it being the biggest thing in the world anymore.
It's just like eventually, I think that for a lot, like especially when it comes to like Call of Duty or something like that, it's like there are a lot of people that play that game that aren't necessarily they would consider themselves like big video game players, like that kind of thing. It's like they play Call of Duty or whatever because it's like a thing when they hang out with friends or whatever. But it's like once, and you're absolutely right. It's like once they discover like other games, like they're just like, Call of Duty is boring now. It's stupid and stuff like that. And it's like, but I found this new game. It's called Valorant. It's actually really good and stuff like that. It's like, and it's free to play. And it's free to play. So so you're absolutely right. Is like you sit here and you can just go like. Eventually, people like would be just sick of this, and I'm like, honestly, I thought that was something that was going to happen years ago with the Call of Duty franchise, but somehow it still hasn't.
It's slowly getting there. I think we can both see it right now.
So it's just like, and especially I think what helped that it was just like, and as weird as it is to say, but it was like the the whole COVID lockdown or whatever. It's like people didn't have anything to do, so like it wasn't like. Oh, we're going to just like watch a bunch of shows on Netflix or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not saying that didn't happen, but it's just like there was a lot of like sources that saying like gaming was up a lot and stuff like that. And that's why like a lot of people, like, that's why, I mean, granted, that's why all the layoffs are happening is because all these like studios and companies like overhired during that. And now like we're back to sort of like normal or whatever. And it's just like, oh, people are, back in the world where they're not gaming as much or whatever, that type of thing. Let's be on the point, though. It's just like, but the fact is that more people got into gaming at that time, and it's like it was only a matter of time before they found these other games that are like way better or anything like that. And it's like,
yeah.
And back in the day, it was just like there was nothing that really challenged Call of Duty when it came to like FPS shooters or whatever. Like, yeah, there was a few games here or there, but nothing really was a threat to it. I would say there's a lot of threats to that game now.
Oh yeah, I mean, just this month is. I know people are kind of dogging on Ubisoft, but they're releasing a game called X Defiant in just a few weeks. A lot of codcasters have had played the beta for that game and are like, this is a legit like alternative to COD that's almost better. And it's like, if more games like that keep coming out, what reason do people have to go back to Call of Duty? Especially if games like that are supported in the long run. People aren't going to want to spend $70 on a brand new COD every single year.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually it's just like it's not going to go well. I have no idea what this game was that you said, X Defiant. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I can send you some stuff on it later.
I found the Ubisoft page on it, and I was just curious.
But going back to what I was saying, the fact that Xbox and Microsoft went all in, buying all these studios, saying that they're going to stick with it, support Xbox for the long run, and now are just going scorched earth on everything because they're not making enough money on the short term. It doesn't just make me lose faith in the brand. It makes me angry at the company legitimately because I feel like a lot of these studios that had a actual decent chance to survive if Microsoft hadn't scooped them up.
Oh, absolutely.
Why not? They didn't even try to sell off Tango GameWorks to anybody else. They just completely shut the studio down. And now I think of Microsoft and Xbox is this one thing that this is gonna sound fanboyish, but they are a toxic bad thing for gaming. There's just so much less games and so many lost opportunities that are just lost right now because Microsoft bought all these studios. And all of them are getting shut down.
Do you know, it's really funny that
yeah.
A couple years ago, it's like when Embracer really started buying up all these studios, I would have thought that was going to be the death of a lot of studios or whatever, and it still might to this day. But it's just I would never have pinned Xbox as that thing or whatever. But God, lo and behold, it's being that right now.
It is absolutely looking like that. They need, if that's not genuinely what's happening, they need to do a big PR push to, kind of convince people to stick with them in the long run. Because like I said right now, I used to be a big Xbox guy, and I supported them through the roughest periods. I don't want to support them anymore.
It's like they haven't done anything that's warrant your support at this point. It's like
no,
with everything that's happened in the last year or something like that. It's just man, I couldn't. It's just it went from bad to now this is disastrous. This could lead to the actual death of Xbox.
If they don't stick with companies like Double Fine, with Obsidian, and with Ninja Theory, and after they release the next games, they just wipe them off the face of the earth. I'm done. I love Halo. I'll buy the game on PC maybe if it's somewhat decent. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty done with Xbox right now. I hate that I have to fear for the futures of all my favorite studios. I thought that with Xbox their futures were secure and that they're going to be then they would be able to create games for years to come. The fact that I have to be, terrified for all of them is depressing. It is so depressing.
Well, and the really thing that's really fucked up about this is that you're absolutely right. It's the whole point of being bought up by Xbox was that you was well, at least we have financial backing, even if the game isn't necessarily a success, because Xbox was willing to invest in the studio and everything like that because of everything it had done and everything like that, and for the reputation that it had built. And now it's going back on that, and it's just that is not good for so many reasons. And that was the whole point of why do you buy the Xbox Game Pass? It's because it's so that way, like you said, the whole reason that you had the Xbox Pass, the Game Pass, was because you could support all these studios, that you could show your support, and it's oh yeah, I want more games from these studios because I enjoy them. And now Xbox just said, no, we don't care anymore. It's this studio's gone, this studio's gone, and you guys are being reassigned to other studios, and I'm going What?
Oh, and by the way, if any like deluded fanboys are listening to this, by the way, the chances of Xbox acquiring anything else, and I mean anything else, are zero.
It's
I'm sure.
so
I'm sure they might try, but like,
but why should
can
they?
you imagine? Can you imagine like any, antitrust like people under the law approving an acquisition by Microsoft after all this went down?
Considering all the stuff
There's
that
just no
went
way.
down with Activision Blizzard, fuck no. It's just like, yeah, it's just like, it's crazy.
Imagine if one day Microsoft just decides to pull out of the games industry completely. All of those studios, all of those IPs, all that gaming history, gone forever. And for anybody that wants Hi-Fi Rush, by the way, now's your time to buy it, because that game has licensed music in it, and as soon as that license runs out, Microsoft's just going to delist it completely. And now Tango Gameworks does not have the ability to like create a streamer only mode or to edit that music out. So if you want it and you want to play it, get either a physical copy or buy it right now. God damn, man, this is so depressing. Just a few days ago, I was like, oh man, I wonder what's going to be at Xbox's, fucking, showcase this year. Let's see if they have any more, like, big launches after Hellblade. Just go from that to be like, yeah, I don't even care.
Yeah.
The brand is dead.
It's not doing hot. It's not doing well. That's for damn sure. And it really stinks. I don't know. It's like, I mean, we brought up the fact that it's like, Xbox, like, next lowest point to this was the Xbox One. It's like they managed to recover that with the Game Pass and everything like that, and like making some genuinely good games in the process. But it's just like from this point, I don't know how you come back from this. Like it's going to take a lot of work.
Basically, all they could do is just walk back everything that they said they're going to do, which I find extremely unlikely.
That
they just come out next week and be like, "Oh yeah, no, we're not going to shut Tango Gameworks down. We're going to keep investing in all our studios, and it's all going to be okay, guys." That was all a elaborate prank or whatever. It's like, no, that's not going to happen.
No. Yeah. It's just like whenever the Xbox decides that like we can we're fucking Microsoft for God's sakes. It's like like you were saying, it's like it's complete and utter bullshit that Microsoft said that they don't have like the resources or the manpower to. It's like you're motherfucking Microsoft. You made, what was it? What did I see last quarter? You made $21 billion or something like that. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Last year, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, made $55 million. Him by himself. How much did... I hate to be dogging on the guy, but he has a comment. How much did Phil Spencer make?
Yeah.
Over $10 million. I'm sorry, you're not going to sit here and convince me, like, you guys don't have the resources to keep, these studios open. Like, a quarter of that could have kept a studio like Tango Gameworks going for another 5-7 years easily.
Yeah. And it's
I don't get it, man.
And it's just like, it's crazy to me to think that like they spent all this time, they spent all this money, like buying up all these studios, and then it's just like for years they did nothing because of just like ineptitude at leadership, like trying to get things going, get games moving, get games out the door and everything like that, and like keep certain deadlines. And now they're just saying like, oh, well, yeah, we did the numbers and they just don't line up. So you know what? These are all gone. And it's like, well, that's on you, bro. It's like you don't just show up one day and say, oh yeah, we don't have the money, when you just said, oh yeah, we absolutely have the money, like just a couple days ago.
You just fucking lied to people.
Yeah, you just straight up lied to people, and it really makes that the whole Activision Blizzard, like, you spent $69 billion, like almost $70 billion on Activision Blizzard, and it's like, and now you're saying you don't have the money for all these things. It's like, maybe you should have spent that $70 billion on making these studios actually good and making sure they have the leadership and everything like that, and get everything moving, rather than buying up a studio which games are slowly dying because they just suck.
Maybe you should have thought about all this. Maybe you should have had a plan in place and made sure that you were willing to stick with it and, invest in these studios in the long run before spending $70 billion and not just figuring all this shit out afterwards.
Yeah.
I want to... I know we keep hopping on about this, but the claim that they don't have the resources and they're spreading themselves too thin is
bullshit.
Is complete and utter, track. Microsoft, even after that acquisition, is still an almost $3 trillion company. $3 trillion.
Yeah. There's no reason that they don't have the money.
No, they are in a better position than basically any other company on the face of the planet to be sticking with this. And the fact that they say we need to make all these cost-cutting measures, no. You're doing all this to please shareholders in the short term, and it is killing gaming as a result.
This is always the thing that I always like. I think I've said this even before we even started the podcast, even probably before we started the last podcast. So that's just gamer talk. But it's like I literally talked about how I maybe not with you guys, but like I remember having this discussion with a friend about like how the greed of certain of like companies will lead to ultimately a lot of deaths of like some really beloved things or whatever, and it's just like, and we'll like, and it's like, it's why I've always been big on the indie scene, man. It's like it continues to this day of showing my love for the indie scene, because it's so much better than a majority of the AAA games that come out.
They are the future of gaming, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Whatever future the industry does have lies in the hands of those passionate people putting out indie titles. 100% agree.
Yeah. So it's just like I remember having like discussions like last year or whatever with like a couple friends or whatever, and they're like, "Oh yeah, what games are you looking forward to next year?" And it's like, "I'm really looking forward to Hades 2 and Silksong, and it's hopefully coming out this year." But and stuff like that. And he's like, "Oh, you're not excited for X, all these other games or whatever?" And it's like all these like AAA games. I'm like, no, because they're just gonna be shit. It's like if AAA games taught me anything in the recent future, that a majority, not all, but a good chunk of AAA games come out and are utter shite. They're just, it's just like, man, I don't. It's a lack of just.
Why invest in something when you know it's going to be garbage?
Well, it's that, and also it's just like. The love, and it's like you absolutely put it right earlier. It's the love of the game, the love of them making like something amazing and like artistic and everything like that is gone from a lot of AAA games. Not that the developers have lost that interest, but because the publishers, because the studios, because the big business people would rather just make all this stuff that makes money than make the artistic, cool stuff.
I mean. The developers just feel like they're walking on eggshells now with everything that they do and everything that they release. It's like, what room is there for creativity in an environment like that?
Yeah.
There's just none. Because all of them are just going to be, sweating all the time, wondering, is this our last game? How am I going to support my family if this game doesn't make billions of dollars? Am I going to be laid off? It's like, the fact that they are given like these crazy high, completely unrealistic expectations for basically everything that they release is maddening. And as a result, there's just no passion in anything that they do because they can't take that time to be passionate about what they do. Like, these people love making video games, and they just have to be depressed, angry, stressed out, and nervous about everything that they do.
And they might not even be sold in on like the whole concept of the game too. It's just like, oh, I didn't want to be working on like Call of Duty or whatever. It's like I wanted to do like this other like cool project or whatever, something like that. It's like sometimes they don't always have like the luxury of being like.
Nobody at Arcane Austin wanted to make Redfall.
Oh, absolutely not. Like you said, like they wanted the game canceled and like redone from the ground up like many times.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like
their studio closed because of something that they didn't want to do.
Yeah. So it's just like, and it's just like that, and then so as a developer again, it's like you're just stuck, and it's like with all the layoffs and everyone cutting back from all these game studios, they probably felt like they were trapped.
Yeah. It's like Microsoft is like, okay, you have a year, make this game good, and they're just stuck there being like, how the fuck are we supposed to do that? This game is fundamentally broken, and nothing that we can do will make this game good. Well, you have a year to do it. You have a year to fix everything, or you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's genuinely concerning. So, like I said, Xbox, you better pull a rabbit out of your hat, because that's what it's going to take if you want to get people to believe in you again. It's just like you said, roll back everything that you did or whatever, or like actually say it's like, okay, we recognize that we might have went a little too overboard, and we are Microsoft after all. But we all know that's just not going to happen.
No.
Exactly. So
they can come out and say like, oh well, these other studios, we will invest in them in the long run. Why do I have any reason to believe you?
Exactly. You have no reason. Absolutely no reason.
Yeah. Any goodwill you had is completely gone.
You've squandered it at this point. Like people have tried to believe in you many a times. I think this was the nail in the coffin.
I think so too. You have like even the biggest like Xbox supporters, like you have Chlorabyte and Cold Eastwood. Even they're coming out right now being like, "Yeah, this is I can't support Xbox after this," and it's crazy that people that stand for this, company for the longest time, are just all like, "Yeah, this is the beginning of the end."
Yeah,
last nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
It is absolutely nuts. I don't think I've ever been this like depressed about the gaming industry before.
Yeah, it will be very interesting going forward to see like if the Xbox does eventually like die out or whatever, and it's just like Microsoft says like, oh yeah, we're just not going to be making another Xbox after this or whatever, and we'll start releasing games on the PlayStation or the Switch or Steam Deck or some shit like that. It's just like that'll be wild if that happens, because like for as long as we have been gaming, basically it's always been there's been Nintendo, there's been Microsoft, and there's been the PlayStation. It's just like those were the three main consoles basically.
Then it's just going to be Nintendo and PlayStation. I don't see a future for Xbox.
It's just like
feels crazy to say.
And like, let's say like they don't make another Xbox, and it's going like, our next thing is going to be XCloud or whatever. We're going to release all the games on XCloud. It's like
a streaming stick or whatever.
Yeah, like they're on like the streaming games thing or whatever that everyone says we're going to. It's like I still feel like we're ways off from that, but like, man, it's going to be generally just like weird.
I mean, Microsoft has a shitty reputation for jumping the gun on a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
I could easily see them fucking up and doing that too.
Yeah, they'll Xbox Connect this.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Fucking Windows Phone.
Windows Phone, yeah.
Remember when that was a thing?
God, that's
Windows
right.
Windows 8.
God damn. I tend to forget that happened. It's one thing to be like, I don't know. It's just like, what is it? Like, even like a lot of phones nowadays or whatever, they don't have like the headphone jacks or whatever, because like, what is it like? Because like, I think when Apple got rid of like the headphone jack or whatever in like all of its phones, it's like I feel like it's just way too early for this. Like it just, I don't know. Like I got so annoyed with when I saw like, I was like, I had an iPhone before my current phone or whatever, and I was just like, I was like okay with it. And then they took that simple thing away, and it was just like, This is stupid. Why? It's just like, it's stupid. It's like they just jumped the gun way too early. It's like, well, it's called being innovative in a set, and we're setting the precedent or whatever. And I'm like, no, what you're doing is you're just increasing the sales of your thing, so that way you can make a shittier product.
And to everyone that was like, oh, you should just buy the dongle. You can still use your, corded headphones or whatever.
Fuck no.
I did do that for a little while because my phone doesn't have a headphone jack anymore either. It broke the charging port, and I had to get it repaired.
Yes, it does. And it's just like, it's just really funny to think, like, even like tech companies and everything like that have, like, when you look back like 10 plus years or whatever, it's like you see like the care and like design of other things. Like you look at like the old iPhones or whatever, the iPod touches and stuff like that. It's like there was like, they took care of you. Now you're lucky if you get a fucking charging cord with the iPhone. It's stupid. It's just wild.
Man, I remember when I picked up my new phone and the guy at USL was like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm trading in your old phone. You don't need to trade in your old charger or whatever." And I was just like, "Thank God for that, because I know for a fact this new one doesn't come with one."
Yeah. I don't know. It's just crazy. It's just like how greedy companies have become in such a short time. It's like maybe I'm just noticing it more now, but it's like it just feels like a lot of like tech companies, gaming or whatever, just like everything is just trying to suck every last bit of dollars out of you, and it's just like holy shit.
I can easily see in the next couple of years shit completely hitting the fan. Not just in gaming, but in a bunch of different industries with that. Because I think the greed that people are, that these CEOs are like, resulting to. I can't think of the word. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Resorting. That's what I'm trying to get at. The kind of greed that they're resorting to, I think, is going to not only kill a lot of their business, but just so many people are just getting so tired of all the price increases with everything all of the time.
It's like I'm so fed up with it or whatever too. It's just like you look at like all like these like streaming services. I mean, I talked about it when I started watching like the Bad Batch on Disney Plus again for the final season. It's like you have ads on your fucking thing. Like, why? It's like you it's just it's absurd. It's like you're Disney, for God's sakes. You shouldn't need to do this type of stuff, but because they can get away with it, and people buy it. That it's just like it's going to come to a point where people are. They're just going to be done with it. Like it's just going to come to a point where they're just like, no, we're just done. Like I don't want to pay for this shit anymore. Are you kidding me? And then like a bunch of people are going to be out a bunch of money or something like that, and it's just like, I wonder why. It's like you kept pushing and pushing, and guess what? It's finally come to a head.
It's all come to a head. It's all short-term gains. All a bunch of closures and a bunch of like knee-jerk reactions for very, very short-term profits.
Yeah, I don't get it. And it's like even like this is like EA is considering adding in-game ads or whatever. They've done this once before. This is not new for them either. It's like they've done it in what was it, like some of the 2K games, along with the like the soccer ones, like the old FIFA games or whatever, FC games or whatever. It's like this is nothing new. But the fact is now they're reconsidering adding them again just because they want to be able to make even more money than before. And I just go like, because that's not going to piss people off or anything like that. It's like, could you imagine if like, and again, this is just like, and if Microsoft wants to continue to make money, it's like going back to Microsoft for a second. It's just like, could you imagine that in a Call of Duty game that they added like, oh, before you can queue up for this next game, you got to watch this 30-second ad? People would lose their goddamn minds.
Yeah.
But you know what? That would actually get people to stop playing Call of Duty for once, maybe.
I completely agree.
So you know what, Microsoft? Go ahead. You do that and get everyone pissed off at you even more than they already are. Go right the fuck ahead for all I care at this point. Because at this point, I'm just done with it.
I'm done. I'm just so done.
Yeah. That'll just be the title of this. It's like, I'm just so done with it.
Man, if you would have told me like a couple years ago that one of the last companies I would actually stand for was going to be Ubisoft, I would have called you a complete fucking
This is a
liar.
fucking liar, dude. There's no way.
Somehow every other like major publisher has managed to piss me off more than they have.
God, it's crazy.
What the fuck, bro? That's not cool.
Yeah. And like, and you just like with all these things with like AAA games, it's like, I'm just gonna go back to it. It's like, dude, play indie games, play them, buy them, enjoy them, because a lot of them are so much better than everything else on the market these days. It's like, I talked about Hades 2 or whatever, or hitting early access. It like doubled the like Supergiant's like record of concurrent players or whatever, like within a day. It's like, people were so excited for that game, and rightfully so. It's amazing. It's an amazing game, and it's just like, and it's only $30. It's like, this is quality that you won't see in a lot of AAA games for less than half the price.
For anybody that is sick of a game like Diablo, I'm looking at the front page of Steam, and V Rising just dropped.
Yeah, V Rising,
$30.
Yeah, it's like the other 1.0 launch as well. Like, there are other games as well that are like that. I think we highlighted one. I highlighted one not that long ago. It's like Last Epoch or whatever. I was like,
Last Epoch, yeah.
Yep, and I was just like, that game looked great. I haven't played it really at all, but I was just like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember this game. This shit looks sick.
Yeah, it looks like basically just like if Blizzard cared to actually make a good
Diablo game
again.
And it's only $35 and not $70.
Yeah, it's just.
Can you imagine that?
It's like something we harp on all the fucking time. It's just that these AAA games do not need to be $70. It's just like,
No.
And with like the recent, like, I'm sure you saw like the recent report that Alan Wake 2 didn't even make all of its money back yet or whatever, despite coming out. And it's just like, I think some people were kind of turned off by the $50 price point. I think it could have launched for a little less or whatever, but I don't know.
I will also say that Remedy did come out and say that they're still happy with the game, and they're, expecting it to do better, and they're still going to do Alan Wake stuff in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
I can kind of see that. They, these games do not need to be priced as high as they are, and I think we are quickly approaching the point where people really need to ditch the, everything needs to be like ultra realistic graphics. Everything needs to be like a big seamless open world, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like, if you can cut like several years off your dev time by not doing that.
Yeah.
That would have been fine. This is going to sound controversial, but if Alan Wake 2 just looked like a slightly better version of Alan Wake Remastered, I would have been completely fine with that.
Yeah. Or it's like even a bit more stylized too or whatever. It's just like, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't need to be super all realistic. It's like, and it's just like, even going back to like, Hellblade 2 or whatever, it's just like, we talked about how like the game's only going to be 8 hours long apparently, and I just go like, well, it's like, I'm not spending $70 for 8 hours of game. It's like, I don't care how good it looks.
As is, it already takes a lot for me to drop that much money on a single game. It's
exactly.
Like, if that game is a single player game and it's only 8 hours, there's just no fucking way.
If I can beat it in one sitting, I'm just like, man, that is like it doesn't really have any like super replayable value to it. It's just like, I don't know if I like that. Especially not for $70. Like, I might pay like $20 if it's like a good enough,
story.
Like story, yeah. It's like when you think about it, it's like people who started gaming like when we did. It's just like, you remember the gaming sphere as a bunch of people that like loved playing video games, like loved having video games, loved the like everything like that. It's just like they loved everything about video games and didn't really care to make a huge profit. And as time has kind of gone on, it's like, it just feels like less and less of those people are still around. No one, it just doesn't really feel like any of these people care about gaming anymore. Doesn't care about like the medium. Doesn't care about making good story. Doesn't care about making art or anything like that.
These
And
games need to make hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, and if it's not, it's a failure.
Yeah, and then it's turning off like us, like you said,
People that buy the video games.
We've been gaming for years, and it's just like I don't want to pay for that kind of stuff or whatever anymore. It's like fuck no. It's like even if a game's free to play, it's like I don't even want to play that, and it's like or whatever. It's just like he's like convinced me to play, convinced me to do these things or whatever with that game, and it's just like with what? With season passes? So like it's just like it used to come down to the point where I liked playing a game because I liked the game itself, not that if I play this game I can get this like cool skin for my gun or whatever, and I'm just like I've never cared about that.
We play games because the games are fun, and we want to keep playing them.
Exactly.
I mean, if you want to create a live service, that's the way to do it. The core gameplay experience has to be enjoyable.
I know I've said it before, but please go play 80s 2. It's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Please play the early access. There is a lot more into it than I thought it was, considering like I played like a little bit of the playtest before they took it down, and it was already really good. And then I was like, oh yeah, there's like a bunch of regions now that are open up and like multiple bosses, and I go, holy shit, this is way more than I thought. So go play it. It's great.
As if you need any more reason to buy a game like Hades 2. Go buy Hades 2.
Exactly. Go get it. $30. Going to be the best $30 you ever spent.
If there is any company in the world that deserves your support, it's Supergiant. Everything they put out is just so good.
Praise to Supergiant. So yeah, it's crazy. And it's like while you're at it, just go look at a bunch of other indie games. There are some really great ones out there.
There's so many coming out on, basically every platform, every single day.
Oh yeah,
every single day. Like I open Steam pretty much at least like 2-3 times a week. I always see new stuff when I come on there that I'm like, oh, that looks cool. That's interesting.
Oh yeah. It's like my wish list is so long at this point of just like games that looked very interesting to me at the time, or just like I'm just like I could definitely like get into this or whatever.
Backlog so big that you'll never complete.
Well, it's just like it's a wish list of like games that is like man, I was like this looked really interesting and this looked really cool, and maybe one day I was like if I see it on sale or whatever I might get it.
That wasn't a criticism.
No.
I'm very much the same way. I have over 500 games on my wish list.
Yeah. It's just like, go have at it, man.
Dude, there's a new game that comes out in less than a day, about 11 hours, that I'm really excited for. It's this company's actually first game, too. It's called Little Kitty Big City.
Little Kitty Big City.
Look in upcoming games, it'll be there. But yeah, it's an open world game, and you play as a cat.
Oh.
This just looks so good. You can equip a frog hat.
All right. See, look, this is what I'm saying. It's like it's made for gamers, man. They know what gamers want. They want the frog hat. They're gonna get the goddamn frog hat.
It's games like that, and dude, squirrel with a gun. I am so excited for that game.
Just like ridiculous stuff or whatever. It's just like, man,
But it's so good.
It's just like you cannot just say like all these games are just so fun or whatever like that. Like it's just like there's not enough of that when it comes to like the big ones or whatever. It's like convince people to play indie games, convince them to look at like what was the game called again? The Big Kitty, Little Kitty Big City or whatever, and like stuff like that. It's like they're simple little ones. They'll probably only be like a few bucks probably. It's like not that much or whatever, and it's like there'll be really fun little interesting things to play. Way better than anything else you'll probably play from AAA this year. Oh, I was curious. I was like, I haven't looked at Helldivers 2's recent reviews.
I think it's gone back up to mostly positive.
It is now back up to mostly positive. Recent reviews have it mixed, probably just because of like it's the good reviews are balancing out the bad reviews that came in a while. But it's just like wild week.
Yeah,
wild couple weeks that happened that really went through. I was like, I think that's gonna be all for us though, because
I think so too.
I think we got everything out we wanted to say.
I need to take a breath, my guy.
Exactly. So, thank y'all so much for watching another It Never Ends. As we really, really hammered on a lot of things today, but I think it was all really important. So
absolutely.
Exactly. So be sure to watch us on the YouTube channels. I upload all the video versions of this to YouTube and whatever. Subscribe to the feed if this is your first episode you are listening to. Wow, what an episode you've jumped into. But it's like we want games to be good. That's all I can say.
We say all these things because we want the games industry to be better.
Exactly.
And we just see it in a direction that we don't like. So we kind of feel the need to talk about it.
Yep. And so yeah, be sure to follow my co-host over at his Twitch or everything. The links are in the description below or in the show description wherever you're listening to this, and everything like that. And I think we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.